Hey, what's up guys? It's Trim here. We are going to talk about our Danger Zombie deck today. So this deck is really good. We don't run a lot of hand traps with it. We only run 5. And even then, you don't have to even run things that we run in this deck. It has room for a lot of substitutes. So I've seen a lot of Danger Zombie decks out there that go into things like, Danger Chupacabra, Danger Mothman, and while those can be good, I don't think that they necessarily fit this deck and what it's actually capable of. This deck is actually capable of going into rank 8 plays very easy. Things like Dingirsu, for example, or Hope Harbinger. And I think those plays are actually a lot more powerful. And because we run a lot of level 8s in this deck, we also run Trade-In. So that's kind of what the difference with this deck and maybe some other decks that you've seen online are. This has a heavy focus on rank 8 plays. And I think going forward, even in Master Rule 5, this deck is just going to get even more powerful because you don't need to use that extra monster zone for your XYZ summons. This deck just it's crazy, it has a lot of potential. I've been doing pretty well with it. So without further ado, let's go right into our Danger Zombie deck. Alright. First off, since this is a zombie deck, we do run our standard Shiranui Solitaire. Run 3 of that. You should always run 3 of that. Then we run Triple Unizombie. I mean, that is one of the best cards in the deck, as you would know if you're familiar with zombies at all. And I imagine if you're watching this, you are familiar with zombies. So we kind of run standard ratios with all the zombie cards here. So we run 2 Necroworld Banshees, card that just lets you search out Zombie World. Pretty standard. Next, 2 Glow Up Blooms. It's a card that lets you special summon Doom King. You have to be careful with this card because after you use it, it can lock you into only special summoning zombies. So sometimes what I'll do with this deck is I won't even send that to the grave. Instead, I'll just send Doom King because I want to go into my rank 8 plays before I go into this. So it's a little more situational in this deck. Next, of course, we have our Double Mizuki. Free Monster Reborn for the deck. Everything in the graveyard becomes zombie if Zombie World's on the field. So you can even use it to revive dangers and kind of continue on your combos. And next, 2 Doom Kings. You guys are all familiar with this card. Big boss monster of the deck. If you are playing zombies, this is what you're playing zombies for. Comes with double disruption. Pretty good card. Next, double Ash Blossom. I found 3 was way too bricky. Draw it way too often. You don't want to open with double Ash. So I think 2 is just the perfect number for this deck. Okay, next we're going to go into our Danger package. So start with 1 Nessie because banlist has limited it to 1. Otherwise I would have it at 2 because it's probably the best Danger in my opinion. I mean, either way you plus with this card. 2 Tsuchinokos. This card is really good because it allows you to go into kind of your synchro plays that you don't see often, such as like Red Eye Zombie Necro Dragon, or even some of the cards that we're going to talk about in our extra deck. Actually, same thing here with Jackalope. I think Jackalope is actually better than Tsuchinoko because Jackalope allows you to get any danger from your deck onto the field. So that can assist with your rank 8 plays as well as assisting with synchro plays. So for our level 8s, we're going to run Triple Bigfoot. Basically, you can draw a card if it's summoned to the field. If you discard it, it pops cards. So that's kind of another reason why with this deck, you can actually pop floodgates and stuff with this card. I mean, obviously, except like Mystic Mine. But Triple Bigfoot and Triple Thunderbird is kind of what allows you to get this deck rolling. It allows you to pop back row. Thunderbird allows you to pop face down back row. Bigfoot allows you to pop face up back row when they're discarded. So even if you don't get the draw effect, you can pop all their back row. So for that reason, going second with this deck I think is a little bit better. But going first, it's still okay. obviously with this deck we go triple Zombie World. It's funny because it came up the other day where it was actually kind of an unintended floodgate against a true Draco deck. Yeah, there's still people playing the deck after the ban list, so this just shut down the guy's entire deck. Zombie World is still one of the best floodgates in my opinion, and it's basically what allows Doom King to go crazy and make that such a amazing card. Now next, we do triple Super Poly, because this card is ridiculous in this deck. When you combine it with Zombie World, anything becomes a zombie, and that makes Dragon, Necro, Nether Soul Dragon an amazing Super Poly target for this deck, because it's live at all times if Zombie World's on the field. So this is kind of what I've been experimenting with is Trade In. It allows you to discard level 8 so you can draw 2 cards. I think in this deck it actually is really good. If you don't want to play this, you can substitute it with some of the other cards we'll talk about as far as our side deck goes. Now for our one-ofs, we play 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Monster Reborn. Enough said about those cards. They're very, very good in this deck. Now this is the one, I know it's a little expensive, guys, but I play triple Impermanence. If you don't have the money for triple Impermanence, you can always go Eradicator Epidemic Virus is always a great option. This deck by no means needs this card. I just find that, multiple negates is always a great thing. So that puts us at a 41 card main deck. Now for our extra deck, this is kind of why we run the things that we run with this deck. Some of it's pretty standard. As far as the standard cards that we're going to run, we run 1 Link Karibo. It's just good if you have no other option, but you have a Bloom in your hand. You can send that Bloom to the graveyard, get your Doom King out, get your plays rolling. So, Link Karibo, always really good. And then this 2 Vampire Suckers, you're kind of obligated to run this card. It just lets you draw on plus. It's really good. There's no reason you shouldn't have it. Yeah. And then as far as our other standards, we have our Nightmare package, and we have our Boral Sword Dragon. Boral Sword is actually very easy to make in this deck, and Nightmare Unicorn really pops off in this deck if you can get things like IP Masquerena out, which sometimes I'll go into that if I know that Sucker's just going to die. Which most of the time, let's be real, she does. So IP Masquerena into Nightmare Unicorn, or if you have the money, you can do Appaloosa. I just don't have the money, but definitely if you have the money, that card makes this whole thing even better. Okay, so the 2 cards, these are the reasons why we run so many rank 8s. So, Dingirsu is great for going second, send a card, it also protects. So, Zombie World won't be destroyed if that's up on the field. It's just really good to protect your board. So, I mean, you can even play it turn 1. I just think I'd prefer things like Hope Harbinger, because you can negate a spell, and then add it to that card as material. Both of those cards actually are really, really good in this deck. Then of course, we have our 2 standard zombie synchros. These are kind of the big beaters of this deck. They are so much easier to make, guys. Especially Red Eye's Zombie Necro Dragon is so much easier to make with the Dangers. I was almost never able to make it going Impure. With Dangers, I make it a lot, and that just... It's so much worth having in a Danger deck. And then, of course, you still have your big beater boss. You can use that guy for, OTKs and things like that. In this deck, he can get up to as much as, 6,000 attack power, Shogun Saga. So very, very good. To be honest, though, most of the time, I won't even go into Shogun Saga. My level 8 Synchro that I'll usually go into now is Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. So it's just another disruption for your enemy. It's a 3,000 attack power monster. If their card activates an effect, a monster effect, you can banish it, and it doesn't need to be on the field, so if it activates in hand, you can just banish the card. That's really good. Also, if he kills a card by battle, he permanently gains that card's attack power, and he's able to attack monsters 2 times if he destroys a card by battle. So this card can get really, really big. It's a disruption. I would highly recommend playing Draco Berserker the Tenyi in this deck. Alright, last but not least, we have our Super Poly targets. So these two, the Dragon Necro Nether Soul Dragons, are really good for when Zombie World's up. Of course, we have to have something for when Zombie World is not up, and we don't have access to it, which almost happens never, but it does come up sometimes, so we have our Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Alright, last but not least, we're going to get into our side deck. There's a lot of room for improvement with this deck, guys. So, first off, this format, and going forward, you pretty much have to have Nibiru. This card, you know, it'll win you games, especially if you're going second. So, Nibiru the Primal Being, there you go. You can just tribute your enemy's whole field. You know, enough said about it. It's easy enough to get rid of the token with Doom King's Banish. Yeah, you should definitely have this in your side. Now, sometimes you'll go up against things like Mathmex, and Mathmex, if they go first and they get out their Sigma card, that can be really hard for your deck to deal with. So, I also run things like Gamma Seal, because Gamma Seal can just tribute problem monsters and get rid of them. Pretty good. Now, this next card is a bit spicy. It comes in the Zombie Structure deck, and a lot of people kind of slept on this card, but I think it's really, really good. That card is Zombie Necronize. So what this is it's basically a better mind control for this deck, because this card is, as long as there's a level 5 or higher zombie on the field, you can play this card, take control of that card, and unlike Mind Control, it doesn't have stipulations. So you can attack with the card that you steal, and you can tribute it. More importantly, though, you can recycle this card from the grave to be used again. So just by running 2 copies, you can essentially use this card 4 times, and when you recycle this card, you can also recycle your banished card, some of your banished cards back into your deck. Zombie Necronize is actually really, really nuts. I would highly recommend running that. So next, Triple Twin Twisters, because back row decks are still a huge problem for this deck sometimes, like, you know, Mystic Mine, things like that. The dangers, sometimes, you know, if they have Mystic Mine, you still can't pop the card, so you need a spell or trap to do it. And just in case they have, like, Prohibition or Field Barrier up, I also run things like Cosmic Cyclone. Cyclone, you know, just more general back row hate. We only run 2, because with 3 Twin Twisters, we already have a good amount. And for our very last card, we also put the Triple Rivalries in our side deck, because I actually had a very, very hard time cutting this out of the main deck. If you resolve this in Zombie World, still, most of the time, you just win. It doesn't have as much synergy with the Danger variant, but it is still very, very good. You can still opt to main deck it if you like. I just think, for me, I prefer the trade-ins for the extra draw power. But if you were going to replace anything, I would replace trade-ins for this, probably. So there you go. That is my Danger Zombie deck, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's been a while. I've just seen a lot of videos on YouTube where I think people are kind of going wrong with the Danger deck. So I just wanted to give what I use and what I think is best in a Danger deck variant. I will try to be better about uploading. To be honest, though, my life has just been kind of crazy lately. But thank you for subscribing and sticking with me. I appreciate you guys. See you next time.